Hi everyone, I'm Gina Wieselman of MySweetPaper.com, and I'm so glad that you could join for May 2020's Stampin' Class by Mail. This month you'll be making cards featuring the Ornate Garden suite of products by Stampin' Up. I've teamed up with Brenda Cardinal, another Stampin' Up demonstrator, to offer these monthly classes by mail. This month, it's Brenda's turn to show you how to stamp and assemble your cards, and next month it'll be my turn. Make sure to watch all the way to the end of the video to get a sneak peek of next month's designs and a few extra bonus opportunities. Have fun stamping, and here's Brenda.
Hi everyone, I'm Brenda Cardinal of StampinTulip.stampinup.net, and I'm excited to show you how to stamp and assemble your ornate garden cards. One of our cards this month is a fun fold. For this month's cards, we'll be using the Ornate Garden suite of products. This suite of products is one of the new suites you'll find in Stampin' Up's brand new 2020-2021 annual catalog that begins in June. The new annual catalog and exciting new stamp sets and accessories are always anticipated about this time of the year. So it's really awesome that we are all able to get our hands on this particular suite early. From the Ornate Garden suite, we'll be using the Ornate Thank You stamp set, the Ornate Borders dies, the Ornate Floral 3D embossing folder, the Ornate Garden Specialty Designer Series paper, the Ornate Garden Ribbon Combo Pack, and the Gilded Gems. We'll also be using several punches, including the half-inch circle, Daisy, Label Me Lovely, and the Detailed Trio. The images using these dies, embossing folders, and additional punches have been pre-cut and embossed for you if you are taking the Stampin' Class by mail. Please reach out to Gina or I if you need any supplies, would like to talk about becoming a Stampin' Up demonstrator, or would like to host a stamping event. Let's get started with our first card design. Our first card is the Elegant Floral card. If you are taking the Stampin' Class by mail from Gina or me, all your parts and pieces needed for each of our 3 card designs have been cut to the correct size, packaged with envelopes, and shipped right to your home. If you've not purchased a kit from one of us, pause the video here to cut and prep all your parts and pieces you will need for our first card design, and then come back when you're ready. We're going to start by stamping our inside greeting. And as you already probably know, the Ornate Thanks stamp set has so many different options for stamping your greetings. And today, for this card, I'm going to use the So Grateful for All You Do, but feel free to pick out whatever greeting you would like. Our card base is cut so that the top flap is shorter than the back of the card. And I'm not going to crease my card quite yet because I always like to stamp when it's flat. So let's start out by stamping the So Grateful. And because we're working with a photopolymer stamp, I'm going to put our Stampin' Pierce mat underneath for that little extra cushion. We'll stamp the So Grateful with the Old Olive ink. Make sure I get that nice and inked up because it's such a bold image. And then I'll stamp that centered. And I'm going to hold that just for an extra second to make sure we get good transfer from that bold image. There we go. And then we'll use the Early Espresso to stamp our second part of our greeting. Now, I place this on a larger block than what you might think you need for this, but what I like about the larger block is that I can really see right where I want to put it because there's plenty of room above and below it. It's a little trick I like to do for making it easier for placement. Okay, there we go. So grateful for all you do. All right, and that's all of our stamping. So let's talk about this gold die cut piece. And I'm going to give you a couple tips if you've invested in those dies that coordinate with a stamp set. I'm going to set this aside for a second. As we mentioned before, if you've purchased a Stampin' Class by mail kit from us, all your die cutting, embossing, and punching has been done for you. But I did want to take a minute here and show you how to cut with these particular dies. If you invested in the coordinating dies, the ornate border dies with the stamp set, let me just show you a couple tips. First, here's what the dies look like. So many beautiful options, plus some extra borders for detail, and then some flower images. So for this card, we're using this particular die. And what I want to show you about these dies is that notice they have these extra tabs that extend beyond the actual die cut image. These are for placement. And they're not centered down the die, they're off to the one side. And that's helpful so that you know that the edge to the right of these tabs is the one that will actually cut off the extra cardstock to create that pretty border. So let me show you how this works. I'll bring in my Big Shot. And for those of you who don't have a die cutting machine and are excited about getting one, Stampin' Up! In their new annual catalog has two, or not just one, but two new die cutting machines, a large one and a smaller one. So get excited about that. There'll be more details about that coming, and they'll be available sometime this summer. Okay, so let's take our gold foil sheet. And remember I said the tab that's to the closest edge is the side that will cut. So what you do is you lay your die down and then you center it how you'd like it. And then you know you have it straight on the cardstock if the distance between the tab and the cut edge on the top and the bottom is the same. And then you'll know that it'll cut your image straight for you, like so. Okay, so then I'll put my top cutting pad on top and we'll run it through the die cutting machine. Now, because it's such an intricate die, we want to roll it through a couple times. So I'll go forward and back and then pull that out. I'm going to pull my die cutting machine away. And then I'm going to bring in another fun tool. This is our Take Your Pick die brush tip. So what you do is you purchase your Take Your Pick tool that has the has a paper piercer and a spatula, and then also a putty tip. You pull the putty tip out and you put your die brush tip on. The die brush tip also comes with a foam pad. And then what you do is you grab your die with a paper and you run your brush over the die cut image. And what happens is it helps push out all those little chads. So you get a nice, beautiful, I should say, die cut image. And you don't have to pick all those little pieces out of there. If you do have a few that stick in, you can take your paper piercer end and just push those out. Easy enough, okay? You can also use this in case you have a few little pieces that stick in, you can push those out as well. All right, so die cutting with these, I just want to show you that because it's a little different and kind of unique. All right, so now we have our very elegant flowers there out of gold foil. So let's come back to our card base and we're going to fold it. And with our bone folder, we're going to give it a nice crease there. And then with our snail, we are going to put just a little snail, like on the very edge. Several pieces. Okay. And then we're going to lay this so that we have it centered left and right how we like it, with about an 1/8 inch showing on the white on the bottom here on the back of your card base. And then we'll close it and put some pressure on there. Okay. Now it might overlap a little, or might have a little of the foil paper that extends beyond our card base. So just come back with your paper snips and just trim off any excess. We sometimes like to cut our cardstock just a little bit longer because it's easier to trim off than it is the excess than it is if it, well, what am I trying to say here? It's easier to trim off the excess and it looks prettier if it's not short. How's that sound? Okay, so we have our gold piece here, and then we want to add our Ornate Garden Designer Series paper, and we're going to lay that right on top like that. So again, with our snail. The specialty paper is so pretty because, as you can see, on the one side of several pieces, there is a pattern, but on the other side, it has a pattern with some gold accents, so it's just beautiful. All right, then we're gonna put this piece down, and we're gonna overlap that gold piece, and we're gonna put it so that we have about an 1/8 inch from the die cut edge to where the designer series paper comes. Okay, and then we're gonna add our very beautiful floral piece, and again, really pretty reverse side. Those daisies are beautiful. Make you think of spring, don't they? Just super happy. And this piece will line up with the top. I'm gonna get that straight. Let's try that again. Okay, like that. And then we'll come back with our paper snips too, and if we have any excess, we'll trim off that. How are we doing on this side? Looks pretty good. Maybe just a little bit here. Okay. And we're almost there. We just want to add our very pretty coordinating ribbon. And I'll tie a bow. So the way I like to tie my bows is you wrap your ribbon around, and then you tie your first half knot like you would if you're tying your shoe. And if you'll notice, one of your tails naturally falls below the horizontal line you created with the ribbon as it wrapped around your card, and one goes above. So to kind of tie the perfect bow every time, take the one that's below and push and make a loop. Hold that, and then bring this one over the top. If you come down and around, it'll be crooked every time. So if you bring it over the top, kind of hold it there too, push another loop through that hole and pull tight, and then just play with the ends. Make it as large or small as you would like, and then come back in with our ribbon scissors and trim off the ends. And there you go. Pretty quick and easy. I wanted to show you another little trick with these dies. So on my envelope, I made a coordinating envelope, and what I did here was I cut a piece of thick Whisper White cardstock with that same die. Now I made it longer than what the die will cut, so this is 6 inches long, and I die cut it, and then I laid it down on my envelope, oops, this way, and then with a sponge and the old olive ink, I just sponged it, and this became my stencil to put a decorative edge on my envelope so it coordinates. Our next card is a terracotta flowers card. Here are the parts and pieces for this card. We'll start by doing our stamping. We have an outside greeting and an inside greeting. So let's start here. We'll take our Whisper White piece of cardstock, and so we can place our inside greeting properly, let's lay the designer series paper along the left edge. Bring in our early espresso ink. And center our greeting between the designer series paper and the right edge of the cardstock. Okay. We'll set that aside and then go back to our outside greeting. So it's a little easier to see. I'm going to bring in a basic black piece of cardstock and lay my Whisper White piece on it so I can see all the edges. It'll make it a little easier to stamp. And I'm going to pull out the early espresso ink and bring in the terracotta tile ink. Now when we place the thanks, we want to place it so it's a little higher on the cardstock so that we leave plenty of room for our second greeting, okay? So let's ink that up. Make sure it's nice and inky. And then we'll stamp that down again a little towards the top. Hold that just a touch longer so we get good transfer. And then come back to our early espresso pad and stamp the second greeting. And notice I did put this on a larger block again, so it's easier for me to see where to place the second greeting. Now, I will say the only drawback about placing a smaller stamp on a larger block, you have to be really careful when you ink up your stamp so that you don't end up with ink on the edges of your block, and then of course that might transfer, so be careful with that. So there you go. And that's all of our stamping. So let's start putting our card together. And let's start out by adding our designer series strip to the edge of our inside piece. And now you can fudge a little bit. So if you, again, we're looking for about the same space on this side of the greeting as this side. So it looks like maybe I want to pull that over just a little tighter to the left edge. There we go. And then if there's any excess, trim that off. And then let's attach that to our card base. Let's pull that in and we'll fold that in half along the score line, and we'll bring in our bone folder and make sure we get a nice crease on that. And then we'll add some adhesive to the back of our Whisper White piece here. You'll be quite generous with the adhesive. Make sure we get good adhesion there. Also help by putting a little pressure on our piece of Whisper White cardstock once we get it laid down. Okay, so notice we have an equal border all the way around. All right, we'll set that aside and we'll work on the front. So we'll start by taking our Blushing Bride embossed cardstock. This was embossed with the Ornate Floral 3D embossing folder that's part of the suite. And then we'll attach our designer series paper to the left of that. Now, this paper is somewhat directional. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter, but when I look at this flower, it looks like it's, to me, it looks like it's more upright or going the right direction if I lay it that way. So let's add some adhesive to the back of this. And this piece will line up on the left side of that embossed piece. Okay. Put some pressure on that. And then we're going to attach our early espresso piece to the front as well. And I'm going to lay the early espresso piece so it covers that seam like that. Okay, and then we're going to come back with our paper snips and trim off any excess. Okay, so there we go. Now we're going to add the ribbon detail with our Labelly Lovely terracotta punched label. And I wanted to show you how we put the ribbon holes in there. We used our trio punch, and this one punches, rounds a corner, it puts this decorative edge in a corner, and then it also gives you a hole for some ribbon. And so after you punch your label, what you do is you stick your label into the punch, and you you push it until you hit the stopper in the back, and then you want to make sure that you have the same amount of label showing on the left and right side. Do you see that here and there? And then you just, oops, I think I just moved it. And you just push towards the punch image that you want. Okay, and so there you go. You just flip it around and you do the same thing. There we go. All right. And then what you want to do is you want to thread your ribbon. Oh, let's back up for a second. Before you do that, let's pull in our dimensionals. And you want to flip this over and you want to put a dimensional on the left side and one on the right side. And they'll be all ready to go when we want to place that on the front piece here. All right, let's add the ribbon. So we want to go from the front to the back and back to the front again. Okay, and then let's just lay it on here, kind of where we want. And then let's pull the release paper off the dimensionals. And then we're going to center it so we have about the same space above and below the label. Okay, so now we have it placed. And then let's tie our bow. Okay. Just play with the ends till the bow is the size you want. And the ends are laying like you want them to. Okay. Now we don't want to see that little hole there. So all you have to do is shift your ribbon up a little bit. Okay. Just double check it, make sure it looks the way I want it to. All right. And then let's trim the ends. Alrighty, then let's add this to the front of our card. Be really generous when you're adding adhesive to the back of an embossed piece because there's a lot of highs and lows. Okay, there we go. And then let's add our greeting, and we'll do that by using dimensionals again. And notice that the label sticks a little bit beyond, the greeting sticks a little bit beyond the label. So you don't want to get the dimensionals too close to the edge. So pull those in a little bit. Then we'll pull the paper. And then this will center like that. And then we'll add our gilded gems that are part of the suite. Now you got a strip if you ordered a kit from us. And what we're going to do is use one, notice there's 3 sizes, a large, medium, and small. So we want to use a medium one and a small one. And there you go. Our next card is a Daisy Delight card. And here are the parts and pieces for this card. This card is a fun fold card. Slide off the belly band and look, this is how it opens. All right, we're gonna make this card in kind of 2 segments. We're gonna do the card base first, and then we're gonna come back and do the belly band. So I'll pull this out. All right, well, typically I wouldn't recommend you scoring all of your score lines first because it makes it kind of hard to stamp, but I'll show you a little trick on how to make it easier to stamp after you've creased all your score lines. But it's going to be easier for placement of our designer series paper if we score it first. So what we want to do is take your bone folder and you want to lay your cardstock so that the smaller section that's between the cut edge and the score line is at the top, and the larger section, again from the cut line to the score line, is at the bottom. So you'll start by taking the smaller section and you'll fold it away from you and put a nice crease on it with your bone folder, and then you want to fold it towards you at the next one and then away from you on the next one. Okay, away from you and then towards you again. So it's like an accordion fold. All right, And when you're all said and done, this is actually a standard card size. All right, so let's pull it back open. And then we'll place our designer series paper first. Now, for every card, you'll have 3 pieces. 2 of them are the same size, and 1 of them is a little bit larger, okay? So let's lay them out where they go before we actually adhere them, so make sure we get them in this right spot. So this paper is a little directional, so you want to think about that when you're placing your designer series paper. And the larger one goes on that very first section, okay, at the top there. And you'll know you have it right because you'll have the same white border all the way around the piece, okay? So that's where the first one goes. The second one, now these are the 2 that are the same size, will go towards the next large section, okay? So we're going to skip 1 because that's where the greeting is going to be. And then in this next section, we'll attach this one, and this one is going to be attached close to the score line, but we're going to have this equal border on the left and right side and the bottom. Okay, so we have the same border here, and then the last one will same thing. Will go down here like this. Okay. All right. So let's start at the bottom here. Let's take our snail. Double check and make sure my daisies aren't upside down. And then I'll lay this one on the bottom here. So I have this a nice little border around the edge there, okay? And then we're going to skip this scored section, and then we're going to add this piece. Okay, daisies are going the right way. Little border on that side. Okay, and then we'll pull this one up, and this one will go at the top. Daisies are going the right way. This looks like it's a little crooked there. Okay, there we go. All right. Now we're going to stamp, and then we're going to come back and add our decorative old olive pieces, okay? Because that's going to take a little, we're going to use the multi-purpose liquid glue, and that'll take a little longer to dry. So let's do that the last step. All right, so then we know this is the section we're going to stamp in because there's no designer series paper within that area between scoreline and scoreline, and then this section, okay? So in order for it to lay flat, let's fold it back against what the direction we originally folded. See, now it's nice and flat. Okay, I'm going to pull in my Stampin' Pierce mat because the thank you, and that's the grading I selected, is big, bold. So I want to make sure that we have a little extra cushion underneath, and then we'll use our old olive ink. So we want to really ink that up. Making sure I'm in the right section and I'm straight. And we'll hold that just a little longer. Get good transfer between the stamp and the paper. There we go. And then we'll push this up and we'll stamp in this section, okay? So from the bottom of my heart is this greeting I chose to put here. All right, there you go. Alrighty, and that's all our stamping. So now we need to add the decorative pieces. Move that out of the way for right now. Now, you know, it's kind of tricky when you want to put glue on the back of these pieces, right? Because it's so tiny. So I'm going to show you a little trick here. and I'm going to use the multi-purpose liquid glue, and I'm going to bring in my craft sheet, my silicone craft sheet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put a little glue on my craft sheet. And I'm taking my sponge dauber. This is a brand new one. I've not used it for anything else. I'm going to pick up a little glue. And now I'm just going to dab the glue. Now you have to be kind of fast with this, right? Because we're not putting much on there, so it's going to dry pretty fast. Okay, slide that out of the way. And then this one's going to overlap our designer series paper just a little teeny bit. Oops, not quite straight there. Okay, and then put some pressure on it. Okay, and then we'll do our second one. Be careful of this here because we don't want to get any glue on the front side. So I'll just slide this over to a section that I don't have any glue on yet. And this one will go just above this piece of designer series paper. Okay. So it's kind of a nifty trick, right? Because that's just, you want it to stay down so it doesn't get caught, but you don't want a bunch of extra glue places, okay? And then if you need to, just flip this over. If you need to do a little trimming, you can. Okay, and we'll let that dry. These, because it's a liquid glue, you can drop this in some water to get so it doesn't become real hard, and then the craft sheet, you can either let it dry and peel it off or drop that into some water too to get all that glue off, so be ready for your next stamping project. All right, let's work on our belly band to close our card with, and we're going to start out by attaching our So Saffron piece to our old olive piece. Now, this paper has one of our brand new in colors in it. So the designer series paper features the new Bumblebee cardstock, Bumblebee in color, I should say. So it's pretty exciting. But this So Saffron is a nice complement to the designer series paper until we can get our hands on the Bumblebee. All right. Now we're going to work on our daisy. So we've punched, you need 2 daisies per card. We've pre-punched those for you if you purchased your kit. And to give the daisies a little depth and dimension, we're going to bring our bone folder in, and then we're going to actually take our bone folder and very carefully, we're going to just put a slight curve in each petal away from you. I mean, or so they go down, right? Not up. Looks like I have a little glue from my putting the old olive piece on that card base. Okay, and we want to do that to both sides, or sorry, we do it to both daisies. I don't want to get too aggressive here. You might pull off a petal, and you'll have to do the loves me not scenario. Okay, so now that we have those done, we're going to attach those two using our glue dots. Okay, so we just want to pick up a glue dot with one daisy, and we want to attach it to the daisy, offsetting the petals, so our daisy looks like it's nice and full. Okay, there we go. And then again, if you've taken the class, we've pre-punched a little 1/2-inch circle for you out of the So Saffron, and you can use whatever adhesive you want to. I think it's just easiest to grab a glue dot and put that in the center of your daisy. Okay. And then we are going to attach the leaves. Now the leaves are kind of interesting because, let me show you where they come from. So when we die cut these pieces for you, notice that This is like a chad that you'd maybe throw away typically, but we kept them and we're going to use them. There's 3 per die cut to put behind our daisy. So we're just going to take our snail and we're just going to put a kind of a bunch of snail on the back, and then grab whatever leaves you want. You can use as many as you want. I chose to use 4. Usually odd numbers are better, but I think I'll stick with 4. But use them all if you want to. Okay. And then we're going to attach this to our square piece using a dimensional. So we'll use a dimensional to cover all those up. I should say we use dimensional to cover the ends of our leaves to hold them in place. That's probably a better way to put it. And then we'll attach our daisy. So kind of however you want it to look, you decide. And then once we have that all attached, then we'll bring our gems back in, and we're going to take one large one and put that right in the center for a little sparkle. All right. Now we want to work on our old olive strip that's going to create the band. Okay, so this has been pre-scored for you. So let's crease it on those score lines, and we want to bring both ends towards the center. And notice there'll be an overlap, right? So on that overlap, you want to take, and I'm going to choose to use the tear and tape adhesive. You can choose whatever your favorite strong adhesive is. And we're going to put a little piece on it. Let me double check. Yeah, I want to go that direction. Put a little piece on here like this on the one end. And before I tear that off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close up my card again. I'm going to lay this in here, and then I'm going to attach the ends for the belly band. And the reason I do this is I just want to make sure that it's not too tight, because you don't want to struggle to get the belly band off. So pull the tape on the release tape on the tear and tape adhesive, and then close your belly band and put a little pressure on it like that. Okay, and it slides. Yep, we're all good there. And then we're going to attach our daisy on the front. So in order to do that, I'm going to use dimensionals. I want that to pop up just a little bit. So I'm going to put one in the center at the top and one in the center at the bottom. You know what? Let's throw another one in there just to make sure it's super secure. Pull the release paper. And then center that. There we go. And now I'd like to share with you some additional cards I made using the Ornate Garden suite of products. This first card has a fun layout. You get to highlight several different patterns from the designer series paper. This next card would make an elegant wedding or anniversary card. Just love that specialty designer series paper. The gold is just so beautiful. I did step outside the suite and grab the mint macaron textile ribbon to add to this card. And what's kind of fun is by cutting my designer series paper, both the same rectangle shape, and angle cutting it, I was able to make a second card just flip-flopping the designer series paper. This suite of products has a second bundle in it called Ornate Style. It has a stamp set and a set of dies. Check these dies out. So pretty. These work really great with our stitched rectangle dies as well. I'll show you a sample in just a second. My next sample, not created by me, but I got in a swap, kind of bridges those two bundles. So the die cut and the greeting comes from the first bundle, and the stamped image comes from the Ornate Style bundle. This next card features that same stamped image in a slightly different way. This card is called a double Dutch fold card. So it opens this way and then this way. The flowers were colored with sponge daubers and ink, and then I highlighted the daisies with my Stampin' Right marker. Okay, let's see those Ornate layers dies in action here. Look at this. So pretty. The card is actually really quite simple, but our focal point here just makes this whole card. This next card features our medium daisy punch. And here's our die cut again. And here, look at this, the stitched rectangle. See how well it just kind of sets your image right inside that frame. And this last sample brings the whole suite together. Thanks again for participating in our Stampin' class by mail. And now here's Gina.
Thanks for demonstrating how to make those beautiful cards, Brenda. If you received a class by mail kit from either Brenda or me, make sure to follow the link in the email that shared this video to get to a specially curated Pinterest page that Brenda and I have put together with even more ideas for how you can use your supplies. Next month, it's my turn to design and share the cards with you, and I'm excited to show you a sneak peek of the 3 card designs featuring the brand new In Good Taste suite from Stampin' Up's 2020-2021 annual catalog. One of the card designs features a diagonal fun fold. From the suite, we'll be using the Tasteful Touches stamps, Tasteful Labels dies, Tasteful Textile 3D embossing folder, In Good Taste elements, and the absolutely gorgeous In Good Taste Designer Series paper. In addition, we'll be using the Tailored Tag Punch, Lovely Labels Pick-a-Punch, Braided Linen Trim, and the brand new in color Bumblebee ink pad. All of the punched, die cut, and embossed elements will be included with your kit if you order from Brenda or me. The registration deadline for this class is June 5th, 2020, and we also have a registration bonus if you sign up with either Brenda or me by May 27th. If you sign up by that date, you'll get 2 extra completed cards with envelopes included with your kit. We also have a referral bonus if you find new friends to participate in the class by mail, and just make sure to check your email from either Brenda or me with more details about these opportunities. If you're not already on one of our email lists, please reach out to either Brenda or me, or visit our websites so we can get you added to the email list and share details about this and lots of other fun offerings we have. Please let us know if you have any feedback on this or our other Stampin' classes by mail, and until I see you next month, happy stamping!